It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
Hello, and welcome to the Max Sports. Y'all know what time it is. Time for To the Max Sports.
March Madness.
We got Max back in the saddle. We will unveil our March Madness picks. Stick around for that. I'm going to start the show today with something we've never started the show with.
Real news?
Real news, not fake news, and professional golf. So, in this age of...
Did you hear the crickets?
No, hear me out.
Better yet, let's talk about the Capitals and Ovechkin.
Or no, just hear me out. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. Who am I talking about? Tiger Woods.
Oh.
Man, just when you think this guy, he's the ambassador of the game, he's got his shit together, he's now in this brouhaha with some live-in lover. And have you heard about all this and the rent and
He's a single guy. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, he did whatever he wants, and he did what every guy, I guess, that gets pissed off as a girlfriend. He locked her out of the house.
Well, because she's suing him.
Yeah, but here's what's funnier. Okay, so it's gotten so bad in America, you can basically bet on two cockroaches, which one crosses the kitchen floor quicker, that you can bet on WWA wrestling now, or they're trying to set it up now. Newsflash, those matches are already predetermined.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
I know, I hated to tell you that.
Thank you, Drew.
But now they have a site, and you can actually bet on who his next lover's going to be.
Oh.
And guess who the odds maker said is the odds-on favorite?
Giselle.
Here's the thing.
Katie Holmes, Therese Theron's on here, Eva Longoria, Vera Wang. I actually go with Vera Wang. He kind of has a proclivity towards cute age women.
On the whole, on that whole betting, all that crap stuff, if anyone in this room or listening or in the world at large is tempted to put money on that bet, they have GA meetings every day. It's a 12-step program for you to get over this because you got a problem. Just saying.
Well, speaking of taking betting risks, the Raiders signed Mr. Handsome, Jimmy G.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
which
Jimmy
I think
G.
is maybe even maybe a downgrade, actually, to what they had.
What?
Wait a minute. Are you saying Garoppolo downgrade from Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Man.
Really?
I'm not saying a huge downgrade.
Really?
But a downgrade. And hear me out.
Okay. You can have your opinion, even though it's wrong.
Who do the Raiders play twice a year?
Okay.
Denver?
San Francisco? Pretty good defense.
No,
they played Denver.
Denver, Kansas City, and San Diego. I mean, L.A. Chargers.
Thank you, yeah.
Relatively good defenses.
Yeah.
Jimmy G can't stand on his feet for a 17-game season. There'll be a lottery pick next year, the Raiders.
One, they won't be because there is no lottery in football. Two, they won't be because here's the
number top 10.
Here's the thing that Jimmy G does. All he does is win, win, win. Derek Carr, all he does is crap to bed, crap to bed, crap to bed.
Would you agree that...
have fun, New Orleans.
Would you agree Kyle Shanahan's one of the greatest coaching minds in today's professional football?
I would say that, and I would also say that John Lynch is a front office genius.
And they don't want Jimmy G. You're not our guy. Get out.
It's more John Lynch.
I think it's John Lynch, but it's also this, and this is my thing with veteran quarterbacks versus quarterbacks coming up. You look at where they're
proven.
You look at you're not only looking at where they are now, you're looking at where they can be. We know what Jimmy G's ceiling is. We know who he is. He's not going to get better. He's going to be who he is, and all he does is win. You look at Brock Purdy who is going to progress in his progression. I look at Trey Lance, who's got a huge ceiling. And if I'm John Lynch, I'm looking at that ceiling and that promise, and I'm going, I got a better upside with those two guys than I do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Get some stuff for him, or just let him go and be the nice guy.
I'll answer the question for you. Would you agree today's NFL is win now? It's a win now NFL?
Yeah, and all Jimmy G does is win, win, win.
Which is exactly my point. If this guy's as great as you say he is, and there's a reason why Shanahan and Lynch are saying, we're going to move on, and basically, and that's what it is, we're going to rebuild with a quarterback, even though all the pieces are in place offensively and defensively to win a Super Bowl.
The problem with that is I have Brock Purdy and Trey Lance on rookie quarterback deals, rookie contracts. And I got Jimmy G, who's going to be commanding a mid-level veteran salary, which right now is overvalued. Do I pay 2 rookie quarterbacks and bring in a Sam Darnold as another backup, and I'm saving $30 million a year on my cap where I can put weapons around these guys? Or do I pay Jimmy G, who, to Max's point, or somebody's point, I don't care which point it is, it's like a mountain, is probably at some point going to be dinged up. Yeah. So I like John Lynch and Shanahan and what they're doing. My trust is in them.
What pick are the Raiders this year in the draft?
3 or 4, something like that.
And with that pick, and we're saying it here on To The Max Sports, with that pick, watch the Raiders. They're going to be drafting the quarterback.
I think Richardson right now is in the mocks.
Because Garoppolo is that bridge guy that's going to stay there for that year.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring him
rookie.
Up. Yeah, they're going to bring up a rookie quarterback. And that's why they're doing it. They're not doing this long term. They're doing it just to get this guy in there because he knows the system. Because,
I think it's a 2-year deal.
Yeah, you got Stidham. You got Stidham there that they're going to battle it out, quote unquote. But it's going to be Jimmy G starting. And then that bridge guy it will be there again. Jimmy G.
I think Jimmy G's tired of being the bridge. Everywhere he goes, he's the bridge.
Jimmy G, good-looking guy.
Nobody has confidence in him.
No, he's not tired. Good-looking guy. He's in Vegas right now. Guess what he's going to be doing? He's going to be dating. He's going to be playing football. He's going to be drinking, gambling, having fun. What better life? Don't you want to trade with him?
The one thing about Jimmy Garoppolo is, for all that man's good looks and the fact that he wins, it seems he's really capable of putting his ego aside. We saw what he did last offseason. He's like, I'm not going to bitch and moan that they're putting me out on a practice field by myself as they're trying to work out a deal. That's just the way it is. And when Trey Lance goes down, I'll come back in and I'll play it the best I can. I'm not going to have an ego about this. This is all a business. That's how he.
Well, the one time Jimmy G had a chance to win the Super Bowl, he shit the bed in the fourth quarter.
He did not shit the bed. The defense kind of let them down, and Patrick Mahomes.
And he threw an interception.
Yeah, interceptions happen. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about quarterbacks. Jimmy G has laid down his ego, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do for the team. The guy that isn't doing whatever he needs to do for the team is Aaron Rodgers.
I don't care.
I don't care.
Now he's basically holding the Packers hostage again and throwing his old team under the bus. If I'm a Packers fan, I kind of want to go to California and have some words.
Well, no, the Packers want 2 first-round draft picks and a lot of other shit.
Yeah,
they're not going to get a Bears-like deal.
Yeah, and Rodgers is basically airing all this out in public and saying, Packers, you need to do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
I agree. He should keep his mouth shut. But he does make the Jets better. And wow, look at that AFC now.
Say that again, Drew. He makes what?
He makes the Jets a better team.
I'm going to follow the Jets because, man, you got Sauce back there. You got 2 great running backs, good receiver.
Yep.
That's a good team.
Got my Buckeye receiver there. Yeah.
I'm going to follow them. Do you think it's going to be the Jets in Kansas City this year?
No.
I don't know. It's too far down the road to make predictions. But
the Jets, have to get by
Miami, Buffalo.
I don't know about Miami. Let's see about
but
head
look what
injury.
They went out and got. They've gone out and picked up some pieces.
Yeah.
They're being aggressive.
I mean, the AFC's really being aggressive. Well, the teams that did well last year have gone out and identified and look at the Cowboys. I mean, you can't change your quarterback, unfortunately, but they just made a defense that was good better by getting Gilmore.
But I mean, you know how, Max, you have kids. You know how the whole idea of, like you get the clothes for the first kid, and as long as the sex doesn't change, you pass them down to the next kid.
Which is a very real possibility nowadays.
Well, the Jets are kind of like the younger sibling to the Packers for quarterbacks. They did this with Favre, and Favre dashed all their hopes. Sorry, Jets fans. And now I think Rodgers is going to do the same thing.
Really?
Because the Jets are going to have to give up too damn much, and
Which
they're going to be
leads
so
to the
constrained.
distinct possibility that Rodgers may end his career with the Falcons, based on chronology.
Based on history, I almost bet he ends it in the Vikings.
Go with the Vikings.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears would be awesome.
I own you. Now he's
That'd
here with
be
the
awesome.
Bears. Wouldn't that be great? But I like that.
Well,
move.
look
I
at
can't
that.
wait.
So what do you guys think about the Bears trade? Who was the winner in that one?
You know what? I think the Bears were, because I don't know. I think behind the scenes, very quietly, upper management with the Bears goes back to the management with San Francisco. I think they were very smart how they did this. Oh, we're going to trade. We're going to trade our quarterback. We're going to trade our quarterback. At the end of the day, they're keeping this guy, which is good. He's good, and they got him another receiver, and they got some draft picks. You know what? The Bears, they've improved a little bit. I don't think they're going to be one of those contenders to dominate.
Definitely on the road to improvement.
They are.
One of the things Fields never had, and the knock was, he can't throw. Well, he had no one to throw to. It's an interesting fact. I actually heard it on Undisputed, which I love that show. But DJ Moore, which was a great throw, and to include those draft picks, he's got 5,200 career receiving yards. Do you know if he had started his career with the Bears, he'd be their number one all-time leading receiver?
Yes.
52. That tells you how much the Bears like to throw the football through the years. That's an amazing stat.
But what you're saying, Drew, part of that stat, which is true, go back and when you look at that stat, look at his stat also after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's good. He's good.
And then you got Fields, who can stretch out the field.
Yeah.
So I think they've gotten exponentially better. But again, you got to, like the Bengals had to do last year and still need to do to some extent, they need to address that offensive line.
Yeah,
I don't care how good of a quarterback you are, if you're running for your life all game and getting sacked 50, 60 times a year, good things aren't going to happen.
I'm open to the fact that Fields may end up being better than what I've seen over the last couple of years. I'm open to the fact that DJ Moore may energize him. My issues are the Bears front office, not exactly the best front office in football as to who won this. Yeah, right now it looks like the Bears did well by what they were able to do. Let's see how they pick. Let's see how those picks pan out. That's my worry. And if I have Justin Fields on the New York Stock Exchange, I am not buying Justin Fields. I am maybe on a hold or maybe on a sell. I am not bought in on Justin Fields yet.
Well, we know what he can. We know what he can do. We know he can run.
And we also know his stat line in the fourth quarter isn't exactly good.
Right. But again, this is a guy that's playing from behind that had no receivers and no offensive line. So, I mean, but he did some things.
And if I had been better looking, I would have been in adult films.
But why aren't you? If Jeremy.
Why not on the TV?
If Ron Jeremy can
do it, man,
didn't he get in trouble recently?
Yeah, he's in prison.
I think they all
prison,
they
yeah.
all
So
get in trouble.
he's a porn star that I think got charged with rape by other porn stars. How that's possible. But anyway.
Anyway, moving on.
And it is March Madness, so we did fill out our brackets. And Bob says that he filled out, was it 2020 rap brackets? Or?
No, we're not going to say exactly how Bob filled out his bracket. CBS Sportsline. 2-week trial.
2-week trial. Max filled his out literally 5 seconds before the show started, and I had 5 teams in the Final Four.
Yep.
But we corrected
That'd be a first. Equity.
Yeah. Oh, so does anybody give Texas A&M Corpus Christi a chance against Alabama? Anyone?
Well, they have more of a chance than who do they beat? Southeast Missouri?
Yeah.
They have more of a chance against Alabama than Southeast Missouri has.
And speaking of Alabama, that kid that they have, man,
They're saying he may bump up over Scoot. Now.
No. But he's good. I tell you what, whoever ends up picking second or third, That kid, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he'll move up to third. But I've heard a couple analysts talk about this, that wouldn't it be great if we had Texas and Alabama in the final game? A team that basically put their values above their competitive success, and then they still had competitive success over a team that's like, yeah, he drove the car and it had a gun and he went to a gunfight and somebody died, but he's a really good player.
One's alleged, he's gone. One's confirmed, he stays. But, hey, one actually puts a basketball through the net and one didn't. So,
yeah, that's a point.
I like that Texas team, man. Those kids they have, I think they have 4 seniors. They've stayed together, and they're playing for the right reasons.
So let me ask you this, Max, because you're a Texas guy, fan. A lot of people are saying, and they haven't come out yet at the university, but they're saying, you know what, this guy, even though he didn't have a great record as a head coach on the West Coast before he became an assistant for the guy that they let go.
For Beard, yeah.
For Beard. Should Texas keep him?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
But this is Beard's recruits. And can this guy go out there and get the recruits that
he's the one that went out there and got the recruits, and knowing that's what Beard hired him for. So he made sure that he came in under the right circumstances when Beard asked him to join the roster. He did. He worked hard. He brought the kids in. I mean,
the reason I say something is because the last 20 years, Texas has had not a lot of success picking coaches.
If they make it to the Elite Eight, it's going to be really, really hard for that athletic department to let him go and not give him a contract.
Yeah.
Now, if he gets knocked out in the first or second round, I think it becomes a little bit easier. If they're not all in on him, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
And I think the athletic director, Rich, what's his name, DeConte from Texas, he knows what he has to do. I mean, well said. If they make it to the 8th, if they make it to the 4, or if they make it to the championship, they're going to sign this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sign him on the plane. Yeah.
Yep.
They're looking good.
Though all 3 of our brackets have Texas making it to the Elite Eight and not going any further.
And a team that's not in, that was all the rage with their head coach who replaced, who's a former NBA player. His team made it last year, beat Duke.
Oh, you're talking about North Carolina?
Yeah.
Is it Stack? No. Oh, my God. Why am I getting confused?
Just evading me. But he was all the rage, and this year they didn't even make it.
Yeah, North Carolina didn't make it. They didn't. They got an invite to the NIT, and they turned it down. What is his name? I forgot his name.
Now it's starting me crazy.
Bob, can you look up the head coach for North Carolina?
Yeah,
he's an older fella. What about the Baylor Bears? Where we're talking about
Baylor.
Hubert Davis.
Yeah, and they need some work over there in North Carolina. Hubert Davis needs.
That might be another example of a guy that brought in, was coaching someone else's recruits, but he's basically still had the same team. I don't know what happened to them.
It's just with all these changes, players moving from one college or one team to another. He just needs to settle them down a little bit and just start working a little bit harder on the recruits and bringing them in, letting them know that, hey, the money's going to be there because they are going to be paying them for their likeness, and they'll be fine. They'll settle down.
What about Baylor? What's happened to Baylor?
I see Baylor just having to regroup again. Scott Drew will have that team back probably next year, the year after that. They'll be fine. But the team that we need to talk about from Texas, have you guys watched a game that Houston has played, the Houston Cougars?
They looked good last year. They look good this year.
They're good.
Yeah.
I hope that not a lot of people are surprised if they do make it to the championship game, because they remind me, speaking of Baylor, the Baylor team 3 years ago when they won it, these guys are good. They're up and running. And Coach Sampson out there, man, they don't give him enough credit. He did well when he was at Oklahoma. Now he's got Houston rolling.
And it's funny, it was almost 40 years ago. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a little pimple-faced, high school. They're watching the Phi Slam Jamma team.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Two out of our 3 brackets have Houston making it into the championship game. One of our 3 brackets, Max, has Houston winning it all.
Yeah.
So you've got Houston winning it all. Bob, you've got
Alabama.
And I've got Marquette.
Marquette. Who coaches Marquette? Shaka Smart. He was at Texas, and they let him
Shaka
go.
Khan. Chuck is smart.
And again,
well, like I said, they just don't have a lot of success.
This kind of all ties together. Why doesn't Texas? They thought that Rick Barnes was done. They let him go. All Rick Barnes does is take Tennessee and puts them it brings them up a level, and now they're a basketball school again.
Mac Brown turned North Carolina.
Went back and has them back relevant again.
Well, is he? I don't think he's good. Wasn't it North Carolina he went to after Texas?
Yeah, he's back there.
Kind of turned their program around.
Yeah, he took them back to success again. Texas just needs to be a little more patient, I think, when it comes down to it. So
yeah, so getting on to the brackets, Drew has Alabama making into the Final Four, the only number 1 seed. Max, you have 2 number 1 seeds, Alabama and Houston. I have 3 number 1 seeds, Alabama, Houston, and Purdue. And then UConn making it in from the West. Drew has VCU making it in from the West.
That's my Cinderella story. VCU.
Do you even know where they are? Where that college is? Do you even know what VCU stands for?
I could tell you, but I have to kill you.
Vermont Commonwealth University or something like that.
A little bit further south on the eastern seaboard, Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Okay.
But if you watch them, they actually have a pretty good team this year.
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be that Cinderella team. So who's your Cinderella team? Go out on the limb. You know, everyone's bracket gets busted after a day.
Let's see.
I can't just have 3 number 1s.
Well, I mean.
And I have watched a little bit of the basketball.
I mean, I have mostly chalk on this, to be very, very honest. I mean, I have Creighton getting past Baylor.
Easy there.
I have, well, this isn't an upset, but I have Duke and Tennessee, and then Tennessee knocking out Duke, even though I kind of like the Duke storyline.
Okay, I am on board with Creighton for one reason. I don't want to sound like a dirty old man, but their cheerleaders are probably the best in college basketball.
You know, have you ever noticed that and anything that starts with "I don't want to sound like" or "with all due respect," "may I speak freely"?
I don't want to upset you, but
everything after that is exactly what you were trying to disclaim.
Yeah,
I know it may sound a little sexist.
Please don't get mad, but
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have a couple 10s over 7s. I actually do like Gonzaga. You know, this may be the first tournament. Gonzaga's had a lot of pressure on them the last couple of years. They've been kind of that darling. They come out of a weak conference, so they always look good, statistically and schedule and standings wise, and then they always do something bad, and they don't live up to it. So I think this may be the one season. I mean, it rings true a little bit that they don't have any pressure, so they don't have to play with that. But we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah, a lot of that pressure's off. Well, one of the things we should probably talk about is Bud Grant passed away. And for those of us that remember him, he was the Vikings
and the CFL
coach.
And he coached in the CFL.
And, anytime you take a team to the Super Bowl 4 times, now if he had won 2 of those, that name would roll off the tongue and everybody would say, oh, yeah, but,
Yeah, but any football fan of at least a certain age, knows that name.
Yeah, that was a name you just grew up with. 95 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things I loved about him, I remember when the Cowboys were playing the Vikings in the playoffs, and Foreman, the running back, man, I used to love the way he used to run, Frank Tonkinson, their quarterback. But one of the things that the Vikings, Bud Grant, didn't allow was heaters on the sidelines, right? So the visiting team had them. I remember the Cowboys lining up, trying to get warm with those heaters. But over there, I remember this as a kid watching and thinking, why don't the Vikings have it? Open stadium, freezing. It's like, man, these guys they're not even wearing long sleeve shirts. And I was like, aren't they cold? And then I kept thinking in my mind, aren't they cold? How can they not be freezing? Thinking the whole time, wait a minute. That's kind of a mind game as you go back and think about it now, that he would play with them. Man, I love that coach.
And he'd be walking around in short sleeves.
Yes. And it's like 10 degrees and it's snowing.
And it's not only something he did during his coaching career. He did that after he retired.
I think my favorite old school coach, if we go back and watch, was Hank Stram.
Oh, yeah.
The guy was always dressed to the nines.
Yeah,
and
had his ties.
And speaking of that team, Otis Taylor. He passed away at 80. He was one of the receivers for Len Dawson's team. Yeah. This guy, I'm just reading some interesting stuff here. He had 10-year career and 2 1,000-yard seasons. Back then, 14, 15-game seasons, they said you just didn't have 1,000-yard runners. But here is an interesting anecdote that I was not aware of. And let me see if I can read this to you, because it's actually, he found himself at the center of controversy in 1987. I'm talking about Otis Taylor, when NFL players had gone on strike. Taylor was arriving to Arrowhead Stadium for work when Jack Del Rio, who at the time was a young linebacker, I believe,
Linebacker for the Vikings,
had just been traded to the team. He mistook Otis Taylor for a replacement player and attacked him. Taylor pressed charges against Del Rio, who is now a defensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Jack Del Rio.
yeah, interesting story. Attacks a guy who thought was a scab.
Yep.
But that tells you something about Otis Taylor, because I did the math, and at that time he would have been like 59 years old. So he must have been in pretty damn good shape for Jack Del Rio to think he was a scab and try to beat him up.
Yeah.
And Jack Del Rio also brought in an axe and a piece of stump wood when he was coaching Jacksonville. And wasn't it the punter or the kicker he let take a whack at the wood and cut himself or banged up his knee or something like that? That was Jack Del Rio, yeah. He had to put him on the injured reserve.
Like Tiger Woods, maybe history of bad decisions.
I watch Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme just hitting that tree over and over again with his shin.
Whatever happened to that guy? That's a.
I think he's on the Expendable 7 or something.
I think he's doing better than Steven Seagal.
I think a lot of people are.
Seagal's probably in Russia. A Putin asset.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to the Final Four. to
We
Steven
talk about everything on To The Max Sports. Anything else before we wrap it up, kids?
Oh.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we'll get through March Madness. We'll get through the fog of March Madness.
But it is one of my favorite times of the year.
is.
Basketball every day,
and then
every hour.
and then we'll get out of the back end of that, and the NBA playoffs will be the
Want to
playoff
talk
push will
about
be right on.
Ja has started his apology tour.
He's also serving his 8-game suspension.
8-game suspension. I hope the kid gets it right, man.
Which I think is the right thing. That it seems from the interview. I mean, and he did an interview with Jalen Rose I haven't watched yet. Mm-hmm. So good for him for at least saying the right things at this point, as opposed to like Kyrie Irving, who never says the right things.
But as another talking head said, I don't need to hear everyone says the right things. It's time now to do the right things.
Yeah.
And he's at a turning point. He's 23. He's got a lot of money, but he's got to separate himself from some of the crowd he's hanging with, or it's not going to be a happy ending.
He needs to almost get back to who he was as a kid. I mean, he had a pretty decent upbringing. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't raised in poverty and came out of that, and that was what he was exposed to. It's almost like, for my thing, and I'm old school and I understand this, but it's almost like some of these players, just want to lead that thug life and make it look like that, and that's what John Morant was kind of doing. If he can snap out of this and just go and just be who he can be, he's the face of the NBA for the next 20 years. And
when I went to that Memphis game against the Spurs, man, the kids, they love him. They were all wearing his jersey, and so he is, he is the face of the NBA. And I'm sure when they sat down with him, Silverman probably said, "Hey, dude, you're the face, and I need you to get it together."
Well, he probably also played to his self-interest. He's like, you can do a lot for yourself, your family, generations to come. You just need to understand who you are right now and what you represent to yourself and to this league and to your team. And do it the right way. Do it the Michael Jordan way. Do it the LeBron James way.
Yeah. Hopefully he will, because I was watching Shannon Sharp the other day, and he said a lot of these kids play sports to get out of that situation, and he's got everything he could ever want, and he's drained himself down into the situation with his boys. But, at the end of the day, the guy's losing $780,000 on an 8-game suspension, and I did the math. I probably had to work 10 years to get what this guy's
Yeah.
lost in 8 days. Okay.
Yeah.
On a happier note,
Yeah.
I will be in sunny South Florida next week.
Well, you're assuming it's sunny.
It's always sunny in Florida.
Yeah, it's always something in Florida. Just don't make us read about you on the Florida Man Friday plotter.
True.
Well, have a good time. Be safe down there and enjoy.
You guys have a good show. Bring in somebody. Have fun. And
Stay safe.
I guess until then, folks, we'll see you next week.
We are
OH.
out.